time, God is sitting there saying what? I've taken care of it. Just relax. Do what I tell you to do and everything's going to be fine. Is there such a thing as no hope when you've got God? No. No. Because God's always on your side, isn't He? And it may not be the way you want to do it, and you may not be the one that fixes the problem, but will God take care of it? And today we're going to see God act in truly amazing ways that will remind us that no matter the situation, as dire as it gets, God is always there. And God can always work, and we just have to be patient. So let's take a look at it. So I'll go to 2 Kings. One of the great characters in the Bible is Elijah. And it's one of those little, I think, God has a sense of humor because he decided after Elijah he would pick a guy to take his place named Elisha. Just to make people for the rest of the time have to figure out, was it Elijah or Elisha? But Elijah, as we all know, was a great man of God, but you have to remember, at one point he lost hope too, didn't he? As great as he was, as he sat there, and remember, he went to King Ahab and said, hey, King Ahab, it's not going to rain till I say so. And it didn't. Famine in the land and everything, and finally he had that great battle with the with the priest of Ashtaroth and the priests of Baal, and took them all out on Mount Carmel. You had that great victory, but then Queen Jezebel said, I'm going to kill you. So he lost hope. God, kill me. And what did God say to Elijah when he said, kill me? No, I've got work for you to do. And it's not hopeless. There are still people in Israel who love me. I have taken care of that. I'm going to take care of King Ahab. I'm going to take care of Queen Jezebel. I'm going to take care of this. It's all under control. Elijah, just trust me. And Elijah did. In fact, he said, I've got somebody to take your place too. So I want you to go down. I want you to tap the guy named Elisha. Just tell him he's the next one. And he will follow me. And Elisha did. And it came the time for Elijah to actually leave. You notice I didn't say die. Because that is one of the most emphatic no's in the entire Bible. When Elijah said to God, kill me, God said, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe ever. Because Elijah is one of the two guys in the Bible that never what? Never died. In fact, let's go take a look at the story. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 2. We're going to start in verse 9. Because something very important happens to Elisha, who will be the focus of our story today, at the leaving of Elijah. In 2 Kings chapter 2 in verse 9, as Elijah and Elisha are walking along, and they go to this place where Elijah was told that he would meet the Lord, basically, or he would be taken up. And he's walking along with Elisha, and he says to him in chapter 2, verse 9 of 2 Kings, and it came to pass when they were gone over the river that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. Ask me what you want from me. I'm about to leave. God had made that clear. So just ask me what you want. Now again, what would you ask for? There's a few times in the Bible where people are asked, hey, ask me anything. And he said something very smart. In the rest of verse 9, Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. See, Elisha recognized that the Spirit of God was on Elijah. That's why it wasn't because Elijah was a special person. Not because he was a better person. In fact, we learn in the New Testament that Elijah was just like you and me. Same temptations, same failures, same problems, same issues, same doubts, all the rest of that. Elijah was just like us. But he had the Spirit of God on him. And he would yield to that Spirit. And that Spirit would do amazing things through Elijah. And Elisha recognized that too. He says, I want a double portion of that Spirit of God. I want to be able to trust God. I want to rest in His power. I want to have faith in Him. I want to do that like you've done, but I want double. And by the way, folks, anything wrong with that? Is it good to be greedy for the things of God? Don't be greedy for the things of the world. Be greedy for the things of God. That's a good thing. And see what God says. And Elijah, frankly, didn't know. Verse 10. And Elijah said, Thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if you see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it won't be. That's not my job. I don't disperse the Spirit of God. But if God says, okay, you'll be able to see me. And what did happen? Just to make sure we're all clear, how many think Elijah rode away in a fiery chariot? That's the story, but that's not the way it goes. I've seen so many books say that. He didn't get in the chariot. The chariot just came and cut him off from Elijah, and Elijah went up in a whirlwind. So he was taking, and the chariot just kind of cut him off so Elisha wouldn't come, I guess, grab his feet. I don't know. I don't know what God was afraid of, but did Elisha see Elijah go? Yes. That way he knew, I have the Spirit of God on me. I can trust God. I will rest in His power and His faith. And that was true for Elisha's life. Elisha did amazing things. Again, not because Elisha was good, not because he was perfect, not because he was great, but because God was on him. And he decided, I will trust the Lord. In fact, one of those instances comes up in 2 Kings chapter 6. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 6. Because Israel at the time had a very strong enemy, Syria. Anybody ever heard of Syria? Yeah, they're still a problem today, aren't they? Syria was a problem, and they had this king, Ben-Hadad. And I always say it that way because I know a person named Ben-Hadad. So Ben just means the son of Hadad. Ben-Hadad was the king of Syria, and he hated Israel. Here's an interesting thing. I like interesting things. Do you like interesting things? The king of Israel at this point was Jehoram. But frankly, if you read through this story, you wouldn't really know that unless you went all the way back to the beginning. Jehoram's mentioned once. Then from then on, it calls him the king of Israel. That's how much God loved Jehoram. I get this feeling that probably Elisha never mentioned his name. He always just referred to him as that king of Israel. Because Jehoram was like his father Ahab. And he was evil. And God was still with Israel, but Syria decided, I'm going to attack. So he would send, Ben-Hadad would send in little parties into the land. In fact, let's take a look at the story. In 2 Kings chapter 6, we're going to start in verse 8. The king of Syria warred against Israel and took counsel with his servants, saying, in such and such a place shall be my camp. And the man of God, Elisha, sent unto the king of Israel, saying, beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him, and warned him of, and saved himself there, not once or twice, but actually many times. So this is the way it would go. Ben-Hadad would sit there, and he would take counsel with his servants and say, where should we go? Where should we attack? And who would immediately know everything they talked about in the war room in Syria? Elisha. God would tell Elisha. Elisha would tell the king and say, hey, they're going to attack over there. Don't go over there. Oh, they're going to attack over there. Don't go over there. They're going to attack over there. Don't go over there. And it happened again and again and again until who noticed it? Well, Syria did. It's like, wait a minute. What's going on here? We can't get a hold of these guys. We can't make any progress because they always know our plans. How is this possible? Verse 13. Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. And he called his servants and said unto them, will you not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? Which one of you is a spy? Now here's the interesting statement to me, is his people. Look what his people said in the next verse. And one of his servants said, none, my lord, O king, but Elisha, the prophet that is in Israel, tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedchamber. Says, it's not us, it's this guy. We don't know how, but he knows everything spoken in your bedroom, in your palace. He knows everything. And we can't make any headway because he always goes tells the king of Israel. So, if you're the king of Syria, what's your solution? Kill Elisha. Doesn't that make sense? If he's the problem, let's just go kill him. So, on your paper, Elisha was able to tell the king when and where Syria was going to attack. He was always in it, and he would tell the king, and they were being safe. So, they decide to come and attack him. Verse 13. And he said, go and spy where he, Elisha, is. that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, Behold, he is in Dothan. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host, and they came by night and compassed the city about. So again, this is kind of weird. They're going after how many men? One guy. And does he send just a couple of spies to go knock him off, a couple of assassins? No. What does he send? He sends an army to completely encompass the city about with chariots and horses and spears and swords. I mean, he's got this place surrounded completely. That's called what? If you're Elisha, what is this situation? Hopeless. How can Elisha defeat an entire army by himself? How can he do that? He can't. So in verse 15, and Elisha died. No, that's not how the story goes, is it? Because who was on his side? In fact, Elisha doesn't even panic. Elisha's not even scared. He doesn't even fear. He's not even, he just goes through his daily routine. He gets up, makes himself a cup of coffee, has a couple of chocolate donuts, whatever he does. Just gets up and he's sitting there washing his clothes. Whatever he's doing, he's just kind of hanging out. But his servant, in verse 15, and when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? His servant panics. What are we going to do? We're completely surrounded by the enemy. How can we get out of this? And Elisha answered, Fear not. So what? For they that be with us are more than they that be with them. Now, does that mean the people of Dothan are going to fight for him? Does that mean King Jehoram's going to send his army? No. How many have ever heard the concept that you have a guardian angel? Yeah. Actually, not in the Bible anywhere. Not in the Bible anywhere that we have a guardian angel. In fact, it doesn't say we have one angel. Why do we limit ourselves? Well, who wants just one angel? How many would like to have more than that? Let's face it. Think about your life. How many need more than that? So this is what Elisha, yes, he came with an army that could completely surround a city with chariots and horses. That's how big the army was. But he said, no, the army that is for me is bigger than that army. And I'm not talking about Israel. I'm not talking about Judah. I'm not talking about the people of Dothan. I'm talking about the heavenly armies of God. And that's why he says in verse 17, Elisha prayed to God and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. They surround the city, but in between them and the city was an entire army of God. Of fiery chariots. Has he seen these fiery chariots before? Yeah, kind of like the one that came to cut him off from Elijah. But except it wasn't just one, it was thousands and thousands and thousands of them, all waiting. So what happened? Verse 18. And when they came down to him, they charged. On morning break, the armies of the Syrians came to take out one man. They were going to wipe out the entire city. Elisha prayed to the Lord and said, Smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. He didn't want to kill them. He didn't hate them. He said, I need them to stop, though. So strike them with blindness. And he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. You get this picture of them kind of riding in. As soon as they hit that army of the Lord, they all just went blind. And it's hard to fight when you're blind. In fact, it's hard to do much when you're blind. They're all just kind of wandering around now. Kind of everybody, an entire army of blind people, all running into each other, kind of wandering around. So Elisha comes out to meet them. Verse 19. And Elisha said unto them, This is not the way, neither is this the city. What are you guys looking for? Oh, we're looking for Elisha. City of Dothan. He said, No. You got it all wrong, man. This isn't the city you're looking for. These are not the droids you're looking for, right? This is a little mind trick on them. So you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong. Let me lead you. And he does. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek. But he led them to Samaria, which is the capital of Israel. And it came to pass when they were come in Samaria that Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men that they may see. And the Lord opened their eyes, and they saw, and behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. So he marched them right in the middle of Samaria with all of its military and all of its people and said, okay, open their eyes now. And all their eyes opened, they saw they were captured. And the king of Israel said unto Elisha, when he saw all these people led by Elisha, captured an entire army by himself, my father, shall I smite them? Shall I smite them? Shall we kill them? But again, did Elisha do all this out of hate? Or did he do all of this really out of compassion? He didn't want these people involved in all of this. He didn't want to hurt these people. They're just taking orders, right? I did this so that they may know God. I did this so they may know the truth. And he said, no, don't smite them. Verse 22, and he answered, thou shalt not smite them. Wouldst thou smite those whom thou hast taken captive with thy sword and with thy bow? You don't kill captives. Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink and go to their master. And he prepared great provision for them. And when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their masters. So the bands of Syria came no more into the land of Israel. It's like, yeah, we're not going to pull that one anymore. So can one man defeat an army? If who is on their side? God is on. He didn't have to fight. He didn't have to swing a sword. Nobody got killed. Nobody got hurt. Isn't that amazing? So what can God do in your life? Let's ask ourselves, what can God do in your life? What obstacle is so big that you can't get past it with God's help? Nothing. You want to be sure of that? It got worse. That was only the little battle. Let's go to the big battle. Because Syria was not done. Their hatred burned against Israel. So even though the little band stopped coming, Ben-Hadad said, okay, I need to now take out Samaria. I need to destroy Samaria. I need to wipe Israel off the map. So he sent his army down to them. Verse 24, and it came to pass after this that Ben-Hadad, king of Israel, gathered all his hosts and went up and besieged Samaria. Now you know how a siege worked. Basically, again, they would surround the city and they would cut off all their supplies. They would cut off their water, they'd cut off their food, they'd cut off any messages, they'd cut off everything, and basically they'd wait them out. Now, Syria had supplies. They had supply lines coming in and out. Israel could not stop them. Nothing could happen, and they could completely surround the city. So it got really bad in that city. We have seen this in the last century, like the attack on, the Germans' attack on some of the Russian cities was that bad, where you just starve them out. That's a horrible way to go, isn't it? And that's basically what they did to Samaria. And this army was so formidable and they were so well supplied, there was nothing the Israelites could do. And slowly but surely, the people in Samaria started to die and starved to death in that city. Verse 25. And there was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver. It cost you 80 pieces of silver to buy a donkey's skull, so you could boil it to make a little bit of nourishment for your family. Is that rough? In fact, we're going to find out later, they were down in the entire country to 5 horses. Why were they down to 5 horses? They ate all the rest. That's how bad it was in Samaria. But that's not as bad as it got. And a 4th part of a cab of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver. They were eating bird poop. Buying it to eat it. How bad was it? Which always brings the question to me, why didn't they just eat the dove? But somebody was farming them. I mean, I guess that's what they were doing. It's awful, though, isn't it? This is what was going on in the city of Samaria, verse 26. And as the king of Israel was passing by upon the wall, there cried a woman unto him, saying, Help, my lord, O king. And he said, If the Lord do not help thee, when shall I help thee? What can I do about this? I can't defeat this army. I can't get them off of me. If God's not going to do it, I can't do it. and out of the barn floor or out of the winepress. Verse 28, and the king said unto her, what aileth thee? And she answered, this woman said unto me, give thy son, that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow. That's called hopeless. That's called the depths. What was going on in the city of Samaria? Also shows you kind of where their heart was toward God, wasn't it? That you would actually think to do that. How selfish were these parents? How selfish were these people? They would do that. And that's what they did. But what was wrong? Verse 29. So we boiled my son and did eat him. And I said unto her on the next day, give thy son that we may eat of him. And she hath hid her son. Make her kill her son so we can eat him. That was what was her request to the king. How low had they gotten? How hopeless is this situation? Everybody was going to die. Verse 30. And it came to pass when the king heard the words of the woman that he rent his clothes, and he passed by upon the wall. And the people looked, and behold, he had sackcloth within upon his flesh. Now that's important. Because let's face facts. Was the king doing everything he could to solve the problem? If you asked him, yes, I put sackcloth on. I made my petition to God. It's up to him now. But where was the king's heart? Did the king love God? Was the king obedient to God? Were the people obedient to God? Had the people repented of their sin? Had they asked God for help? No. They were just going through this religious motions of putting sackcloth on and saying, well, isn't that enough? Haven't I humbled myself enough? Why do I say that? Because look what he decides to do next. Verse 31. Then he said, God do so and more also to me, if the head of Elisha, the son of Shaphat, shall stand on him this day. In fact, I will show you what I'm doing. I'm going to kill Elisha. What? How does that solve your problem? Who is he blaming for all of this? He's blaming God. He's blaming Elisha. He's saying they're not doing it. I'm wearing sackcloth over here. I've done my job. And we can do that sometimes, can't we? I went to church. I gave some money. How come this problem's not being solved yet? Sometimes we can do very religious things thinking that's enough when God wants what? We read it today in our responsive reading. He's a contrite spirit, right? He wants that heart to be humble before Him. He wants us to come to Him in humility and ask for His help. And they won't do that. Instead, they say, let's kill Elisha. That'll solve the problem. And people will do that too. I'm always amazed. The number of people who say, my life is hopeless. It's all God's fault. Therefore, I will never talk to Him again. How is that going to make anything better? Who is the only one that can help you? God. Why would you stop talking to Him? Why would you stop serving Him? Why would you stop loving Him if He's the only one that can help you? It's like in our story, if the guy said, oh, that's a nice bridge, I'm going to burn it down. I'll show you. Makes no sense, does it? But that was his solution. I'm going to kill Elisha. And Elisha was quaking in his boots. No, he wasn't. Did Elisha see this as hopeless? No. Elisha the whole time is sitting in the city. He's in that city. He knew this was going on. He knew what was going to happen. He's in that city the whole time telling people, we've got to return to the Lord. So, they send people to kill Elisha in verse 32. But Elisha sat in his house, and the elders sat with him. And the king sent a man from before him. But ere the message came to him, even before it came, he said to the elders, see how this son of a murderer has sent to take away mine head? Before the message got there, who already knew it? Elisha did. And he calls him the son of a murderer, because his father is who? Ahab, who's a murderer. So this son of a murderer who will not repent, who will not turn to God, he thinks he's going to kill me. Good luck with that. Look, when the messenger comes, shut the door and hold him fast at the door. Is not the sound of his master's feet behind him? So hold up the messenger. I want to talk to the king. Verse 33, and while he yet talked with them, behold, the messenger came down unto him and said, behold, this evil is of the Lord. What should I wait for the Lord any longer? This is all God's fault, so why should I wait for him to fix it anymore? Why is that? Who's the only one that can fix it? God. So, really your only option is to what? Repent and wait. And God had already told Elisha what was going to happen. Chapter 7, verse 1. Then Elisha said, hear you the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, tomorrow, about this time, shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria. Tomorrow, this place will be so wealthy with food that flour and barley will go for a simple shekel. What's going for 80 pieces of silver today? A donkey skull. What's going for 5 pieces of silver? Dove poop. Tomorrow it's going to be fine flour and barley for a shekel. And everybody said what? Hooray! We're saved! Everything's great. No. So they said. Look what they said. Look at the faith of these people. Verse 2. Then a lord on whose hand the king leaned, so one of his very closest advisors, answered the man of God and said, behold, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, might this thing be? And he said, behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. This guy said, that's impossible. Even if he made windows in heaven where food just came raining down, there's no way that's going to happen. He says, okay, everybody else is going to eat tomorrow, but you will not taste a thing. You're not going to get any part of this blessing. Does anybody know what happened? Who wants to know what happened? Who's right? God or this little twerp? Let's find out. What happened? Verse 3. Starts with 4 leprous men. And there were 4 leprous men at the entering of the gate, and they said one to another, why sit we here until we die? Can you imagine? What would be worse than living in the city under siege? Being a leper in a city under siege. You can't even go walking around and talk to people. I mean, you're basically, you have to stay at the gate and just wait to die. That was basically your option. They said, why are we doing this? This makes no sense. If we stay, we will enter the city, and the famine is in that city, and we shall die there. If we sit still here, we will die also. We go in, we die. We stay here, we die. Now, therefore, come, let us fall under the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live. If they kill us, we were going to die anyways. Let's go give ourselves up. Let's go and we'll say, hey, we'll be one of your slaves. We'll be one of your prisoners. Take care of us and at least get bread and water, right? Smart. But what did they find? Verse 5. And they rose up in the twilight to go up to the camp of the Syrians. And when they were come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was nobody there. They walked right up to a tent of the Syrian army with all their food, with all their supplies. And they walked in and there was nobody there. In fact, they went to a tent after tent after tent. And there was nobody there. The entire army was gone. Verse 6, for the Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said to one another, Lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us. Wherefore they rose and fled in the twilight and left their tents and their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life, taking only what they can carry. They just ran. Who would put such an idea in their head? How could they get so scared? How can an entire military army, all of a sudden everybody think at the same time they were under attack when they weren't, and just leave? How big is your God? How big is your problem? How can He fix it? Say it with me. How can God fix it? Any way He wants to. When will He fix it? Whenever He wants to. He will take care of it. And was He right? Yes. See, those leprous guys, they first thought, hey, let's take this for ourselves. So they started pillaging the place and taking silver and gold and all these things. And they were like, we shouldn't do this. We should let everybody know. So they went back into the city and said, hey, they're gone. And they left all their stuff. That's one thing. To be gone is one thing. To leave all their stuff and food and everything is amazing. He said, it's all sitting out there. Now, the king was a little wary of this. So I'm sure there's a proverb somewhere, never trust a leprous man. I don't know. But it says, okay, we're going to take our 5 horses left in the entire country. You guys take them right out there and see what's going on. And they rode out there and they found out it's completely true. So the king turns to that one lord. Remember that guy who didn't believe? He said, you're in charge. We'll let everybody know, and you make sure everybody stays in control, and everybody in a polite manner goes out and gets what stuff they need. The Lord said, I'm your right-hand guy. I'm in charge. So they said, everybody, orderly, go get some food. And what did the people do? Oh, it was a rampage. It's like their kids going downstairs. Me first! And guess who they ran over? That Lord got stomped to death and he died. So, was God correct? What did that Lord miss out on because he did not believe? His life. The blessings, right? In fact, how long had the people missed out because they did not believe? How much fear do they have? How many children died? Because they simply did not believe. They did not turn to God. They did not trust God. They did not praise God. Here's our question for us. How are we going to handle the hopeless situation in life? And I know it can get hopeless. We can get depressed. We can say there's going to never be a change. It'll never get better. This is just the way that God wants us. God doesn't love us. God doesn't want us. We get all these ideas in our head. But is it ever hopeless, people? You guys are early. It's only 10:15. No, that clock's broken up there. So, no. When is the situation ever hopeless? Never. God's got a plan. God's got timing. We should just be like Elisha. Because you know what? What did he ask Elijah for? Double portion of the Spirit of God. How many here have the Spirit of God upon you? Raise your hand if you know Jesus Christ your Savior. You've got the Holy Spirit of God upon you. You have His power. You have His faith. You have His teaching. You have His wisdom. It is all upon you. And we just need to trust Him. Seek His will and realize I have nothing to worry about. God will take care of this. In fact, one of my favorite verses in the Bible. Let's finish there. Let's go to Isaiah 41:10. Like everybody should have this on their refrigerator, in their bedroom, in their car. Isaiah 41:10. If you ever feel overwhelmed, if you ever feel like it just can't make it, if you ever feel like the situation is hopeless, just read Isaiah 41:10. It says, "Fear thou not." Don't fear. Don't worry. Don't get anxious. Fear thou not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed. Why? For I am your God. Don't get discouraged. Don't get depressed. Don't worry. Don't fear. I am with you and I am your God. There's a personal relationship there, isn't there? I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. A lot of I's in there. That I refers to who? God will do it. God will strengthen us. God will uphold us. God will be with us. God will strengthen us. It's not up to me. If it's up to me, I can be like that guy just dying on the side of the cliff, saying, there's no way to do it. There's no way I can make it. But God, the whole time, sitting there saying what? I've made a bridge. I've taken care of it. Trust me. Let's read that again. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. In fact, I'd like to read it a little differently, if you allow me. This isn't the intended, but this is the way I like to read it. Fear not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen thee. Yea! I will help thee. Yea! I will help thee. Right hand on righteousness. You like that part? I like to throw little yays in there. Because it's true, isn't it? We can rejoice. I know we go through tough times. I know it seems hopeless. I know we can get depressed. I know I'm not belittling that. Any more than I can belittle the fact that we have a town of Samaria where people were eating their children. I mean, how dire is that situation? Did God understand what they were going through? But God also had a way, didn't He? And you notice, they never repented. Notice they never asked for His help. But God, when it got too far, said, I'm going to help them anyways. Whether they like it or not, I'm going to help them. Sometimes God will do that with us too, doesn't He? Because He'll never give us more than we can handle. He'll never push it too far. He will always be there for us. He will always strengthen us. He will always uphold us. Do you believe that? Put your trust in Him. And there are no hopeless situations.